Well, let's move now to Gauteng. The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, hosting their second elective conference. Already, the process has been heated. The selection of new leaders comes amid turmoil in the upper echelons of the organization after a letter of intention to suspend one of SAFTU's founding members, its current General Secretary, Zwelinzima Vavi, was sent to him in March. It's understood part of the conflict emanates from disagreements around ideology between Vavi and Ivan Jim, the president of NUMSA, the biggest union within the federation. Let's speak now to our reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo. She's there for us. Ziyanda, good afternoon to you. Well, it doesn't look like it's a peaceful start to that conference at all.
Not at all, Stephen Curtis, and in fact, the issue that threatened to collapse this conference earlier on today is still continuing, and that's around the inclusion of the 4 national office bearers that have been suspended. That includes President Max Shabalala, and NUMSA is really pushing for these office bearers to be a part of this conference, saying that whilst they were suspended by the NEC, this Congress trumps the powers of the NEC because it is an elective Congress, and that these 4 national office bearers actually stand to be re-elected or stand for election in this Congress. Now, earlier on, Stephen, I can tell you that before the Congress could even get underway, NUMSA's Irvin Jim, the General Secretary, who's at loggerheads with Zwelinzima Vavi, the current General Secretary, stood up then to actually say, well, who are the people who are overseeing this Congress? It cannot be those who are acting in the roles of an acting capacity, but it should be the first deputy president of the party, Nomvume Rhalakhala, and it's at that stage then when we saw FAU and SAPU actually seconding this motion by NUMSA. But I can tell you what, there was tensions then that actually played out here, Stephen, where even other members within NUMSA, because NUMSA itself to a certain extent is also divided on whether or not Vavi should return as General Secretary, and there was an exchange, a clash where people were standing on chairs and tables, really arguing over this point. And this is when Zwelinzima Vavi said that this chaos cannot be allowed in SAFTU. Let's listen to what he had to say.
So I want the president to please help us. Go back to NUMSA, let NUMSA speak either in continuation of his motivation or to withdraw, or go back to the ICTU or FAO to speak in support or to withdraw. At this moment, our appeal, don't collapse this workers' parliament. You will pay the price others have paid elsewhere.
So, Stephen, this issue around the national office bearers is very critical because it will tip the scales of what happens in this Congress, primarily whether or not Zwelinzima Vavi, one of the co-founders of this federation, alongside Irvin Jim, when they were ousted from COSATU, whether or not he will return. In fact, FAO was one of the first to second the motion by NUMSA to say that these national office bearers should be a part of this conference. Let's listen in.
And we are saying as FAO, as much as we believe that there's nothing wrong with the arrangement, we are progressive. We are very progressive as FAO to start the Congress. Because what is important for the workers that are sitting at home is to have the Congress started. And we believe that by starting a Congress will give us an opportunity now to discuss the constitutional implication, the constitutional issues, and what needs to be done by this particular Congress. We are not here to defend any decision outside the Congress being started. We are waiting to discuss the issues when they are itemized in terms of how did we arrive here and how the decision has been made by the NEC.
Ziyanda, I mean, all of this, it sounds like people arguing about process, but really, in a way, the future, the fate of SAFTU, the second biggest, I think it's the second biggest trade union federation in the country, is at stake here. If it doesn't survive this conference, our entire union movement could change.
Absolutely, Stephen, and it's rather unfortunate that at such a young stage of this federation, it's only their second national congress, that the politics of personalities is now playing out, and that the two co-founders of this particular federation are at loggerheads. And you'll hear one side telling you that Irvin Jim is disgruntled with Vavi for not agreeing with NUMSA's proposal to have the Socialist Revolutionary Workers' Party be aligned to any political party. And Vavi was of the view, even at the first National Congress, Stephen, that SAFTU should be free of any political, influence. In fact, it was a resolution taken by the workers that they would not align with any political party. And many are accusing Ivan Jim of wanting to secure his own seat in Parliament through the SRWP's alignment with any political party. The other side, Stephen, is that there are accusations that Zwelinzima Vavi has been stealing from the workers, spending money for his own personal gain, and is still in contact with his former comrades in the ANC and COSATU. Both sides are denying these claims, but again, Stephen, it's unfortunate given the opportunity that SAFTU presented for the workers, especially in this particular climate, both socially and economically in South Africa, where the petrol, there's a looming petrol in price increase. Food insecurity is really an issue, and food prices are on the rise. Workers would really need to have a voice. You have that, continued strike at Sibanye Stillwater. So these are all the issues that should be discussed right now. But at the moment, we're dealing with issues of positions and leadership, a culture that Zwelinzima Vavi says it's been difficult to inculcate because all these affiliates come from various places. But again, as you're saying, it could tip the scales of the political landscape, given the perception that COSATU is deeply weakened, and so this was meant to be the alternative. But at this stage, with the divisions that we've seen just on the first day of Congress, it's a long road ahead.
Ziyanda Ngcobo, thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate it. It's a long debate that many trade union federations and trade unions throughout history have faced. How involved do they get in the country's politics?